What's up, fam? Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Today we are taking a closer look at the newest from Vosteed. This is the Psyop 299. So hopefully y'all saw the unboxing that I did on the day of release. But this knife has been one that I didn't know I needed until I saw it at Blade Show Atlanta this year, and have been really excited to get my hands on one ever since. This is the latest design, of course, from Jeff over at Tough Knives, and a kind of an in-between knife from Vosteed for him. So they did the mini Psyop, and then they have the normal Psyop. There has been all kinds of different versions of that knife, and it's been a very well-received knife, a very well-received line from Vosteed. And I think this, I don't think, I'll actually go and say it, this is my favorite of the series. I like, honestly, everything about it. I do kind of wish it had a front flipper, but that's really it. That's my only nitpick for the knife. I'm one of the few people on earth that seems like that actually likes a wire pocket clip. I know a lot of people complain about that. I actually do like a wire pocket clip. I think on a mid-tier knife like this, I think it works well. There are options out there for changing the pocket clip if you do want to do so. Might require just a little bit of modification one way or the other, but I think for the price point and what you're getting here, this is an absolute home run from Vosteed. So let's go ahead and just talk about the knife a little bit. We'll go over some specs, then we'll jump into the close-ups and size comparisons and everything. So we're looking at, for your blade, it's 2.99 inches. Of course, that's where the name comes from, the Psyop 299. So 2.99 inches. It is a 3mm blade stock, and it is 1 1/4 inches on your height here. It does have a pretty much a 3/4 height flat grind, with the swedge and everything there. I think you've got a little bit more, but that does help clear material with that. On your handle, you're looking at a 4.2 inch handle. It is 1/2 inch thick, or 0.7 if you count the clip, and then it is 1.1 inches here in height. 7.17 inches in overall length, and then just 3.75 ounces. So not too shabby, all things considered. Price tag on these, you're looking at 140 bucks. It is S35 VN. They run their S35 at 60 to 62, and it does use the Norplex Ultrex micarta, which is a USA-based, or excuse me, a USA brand of micarta. It is a, for all intents and purposes, a high-end micarta. It is a very nice kind of, I want to say almost fluffy micarta, if you will. Really enjoy their micarta. If you've seen any of the micarta that Vosteed has used here recently, a lot of it is that Norplex Ultrex micarta. Now, there are 6 total versions of this knife. All but 2 are still available currently on Vosteed's website. Now, with that being said, I didn't check any other places, so I know White Mountain Knives has these. I'm sure my friends at Blade Runner Outpost, if they don't have them already, they will be getting them very soon. So just keep your eye out. If you want to grab one right now from one of the retailers, I'll try to link everything down below. I'll have my affiliate link with Vosteed down there. I don't have a coupon code, unfortunately. I'll try to link White Mountain Knives, and then I'll link Blade Runner Outpost down there as well. That way, if you guys want to pick up anything, you're more than welcome to check any 3 of those. And then, of course, your own favorite retailers as well. But the red and stonewash that we'll have across the screen here is currently sold out on Vosteed's website. Then there is a green micarta with a satin blade, the all-black version that we have here. And then there is a green with stonewash blade. And then they have one that they call teal with a satin blade that's sold out, but I think it's more green. But, that one I'm going to kind of call the Aquaman variant, because it has that kind of a gold bolsters and everything. Speaking of the bolsters, you are looking at titanium bolsters. Everything else is steel, so button, hardware, backspacer, thumb stud, everything is steel. So if you are intending on anodizing one or whatever, of course you can anodize the steel and get a blue out of it, but you have to heat anodize. But your titanium is, of course, able to be anodized here, and we have a little bit of a kind of a I'm not sure if it's just a PVD coating or what, but they do have some sort of a coating or anodization here on the bolsters. It is a steel liner lock, so it is a top liner lock with a button operation. That's all the nitty gritty. Let's jump into the close-ups on the knife and see this build quality up close and personal. So really like how they are kind of matching the pivot with the button here. I think they've done that on another knife as well, but I can't recall right off the top of my head. And even have a little bit of that harking into the thumb stud as well. A little bit of that, kind of that mirroring there on that dish out. Now, again, we are looking at a button-operated top liner lock. So there you have your top liner, and of course, button-operated. Titanium bolsters here with perfect matching on the micarta. This is a light black micarta, so you could dye this darker if you wanted to. I may go in and do something different with it. I'm not sure what I'll end up doing with it, or I'll kind of may even just send it to Morgan there at Darkwater and let him kind of play with it and see what he wants to do with it, and just kind of go from there, because I do want to. I think I'll have to keep the bronzed hardware here, the thumb studs and the backspacer, unless we strip those and heat anodize them. But again, I'm just going to kind of give Morgan, carte blanche on this. Give him some leeway and let him just kind of do whatever he wants to do. So we do have a left-handed or reversible pocket clip with a bit of lanyard love there. Again, we have a stainless steel backspacer, wire pocket clip, pretty standard stuff from Vosteed. Again, we do have a really nice titanium bolster here. Not too shabby either, and it is a steel frame in there as well. So pretty nice stuff. Centering is spot on, and take a look at that tip. Tip looks to be really good there. I don't have any issues with that tip. We'll be able to see our lockup here. Actually, we might be able to see it from the top. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we're not really going to be able to see it there. Let's see. Shine some light on the subject there. So you can see your lockup on the back of the knife. Try to look at it from the front side here as well. There you are. So we have good lockup there. And then we can see the inside of the knife as well. We do have plenty of weight savings on that liner. So standard drop point blade here. We do have a nice swedge. It's just a standard black wash finish, typical from Vosteed. Then we have the typical branding. Over here we have our Vosteed logo. Plunge grind is a little on the light side. We do have a little bit of we do have a little bit of place for sharpening, but not much. So that plunge grind does meander out to about right there. And yeah, like I said, it's not the best. It's definitely not the worst I've seen. Sharpening is spot on though. No issues with sharpening. Of course, being Vosteed, it came razor sharp right out of the box. Absolutely no issues with this thing whatsoever. Just a very, very slicey knife. Again, right out of the box. Beautiful swedge on here. Very functional jimping. Nicely done thumb studs. Good stepping on the thumb studs. Really no issues. Even got a little bit of jimping down here for when you're gripping onto it. You do have a nice spot there. You can even choke up a little bit more if you want to, and kind of get into that sharpening choil a little bit. But having that jimping right there gives you a nice positive area for your fingers to land, to give you a good solid lock onto the knife. Yeah, fantastic job from Vosteed as per usual. Ergonomics on the knife are, they're really great. In left hand, without flipping the clip, my thing here I'm checking is to see if we're going to have an issue with that button, and I don't think I could press that button if I wanted to. Coming in here just with your normal grip, you can see there how that button just kind of lands right in a sweet spot where it's not in any danger of being hit. Even if you put this knife onto the squeeze, there's really no chance in hell that you're going to hit that button by accident, and the knife is locked up solid as a rock. It is, like I said, it is a top liner lock knife, so a very solid lock. Action is phenomenal. Now, any knife from Vosteed, and I've noticed this with every drop, every one I've ever handled, typically I'll get to handle at least 2 different blade variants, but with every coated blade I've ever handled from Vosteed, it does have a little bit of I don't want to call it a sluggish action, but it's not as drop shutty as it would normally be with a satin or a stonewash. So typically with Vosteed, if you want the best out-of-box action without having any break-in period whatsoever, you want to get the satin blade. If you don't mind a little bit of break-in and you still want a, stonewash is your thing, that's fine. Your stonewash knives will take a little bit of break-in. But then your blackwash knives and your coated blades almost always take the most break-in time. But as you play with them, as you handle them, you'll get rewarded by that action smoothing up just slowly but surely over time. You can speed that up. You can take the knife apart and then just kind of put a high polish on the mating surfaces there, and then that really will help out, especially on the detent track. That will just really smoothen your action out quicker. But again, for me, I don't mind I carry and use my knives, so having that little bit of break-in doesn't really bother me one single bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested to know what you guys think on these knives. From everything that I'm seeing, everything I'm reading, it's that everybody's in love with them. I've heard a few people, and we talked about it today in my live stream, as I'm filming this today on my live stream, that I do wish it had a front flipper on it of some sort, just because it kind of asks for it. A knife like this that has a really good thumb stud action, thumb studs and front flippers just go so well for me. And then, you know, like I said, we'll compare a little bit here on the standard Psyop. And again, it's kind of similar vein. You have a single mode of deployment with a front flipper. So this is a thumb hole and front flipper versus thumb stud. And I think if they would have done some sort of a front flipper on here, because you can almost, and I'm sure some people probably can, front flip this knife, because there is pretty decent jimping here. And I think if the detent was a little bit lighter, I could probably do it. But as it stands, this knife has a really nice snappy detent, and that action is phenomenal. But there's some size comparison if you are wondering on the Psyop. Before we jump fully into the size comparisons, I do want to go ahead and check our hardware. We should be all T8 hardware. So let me just grab my T8 here. Absolutely zero play on that screw, none on that one. Same thing here. Really great job from Vosteed, as per usual on that. Now we'll go ahead and just show off here a little bit on the size comparisons. So we have the 299 versus the standard. Now I do not have the mini Psyop just because you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of crossbar locks, and I already had my eye on getting the standard Psyop, so the mini one didn't really do anything for me. But there you have that comparison on that. We'll go ahead and bring in the Penguin back into our normal, you know, size comparisons here. So, and we'll say I wanted to start doing just kind of a butt-to-butt comparison here. So we will go ahead and do that and get these knives lined up tail to tail here. That way you guys can see exactly how these knives line up butt to butt. All right, so, well, let me make sure this is all even here. There we go. All right. We'll go ahead and bring in Pyrite. There you guys have that. Then we have the Drop Bear. So very, very similar sizing to a lot of these knives here. Militaw here is going to be a larger knife. Back into the same sizing with the Bel Air. And the big thing about the Bel Air here that you're going to notice is because of the pocket clip sticking out the way it does. So the pocket clip is actually touching the box there, and that makes this knife actually a little bit longer than the Psyop 299. But if you just did them as a pivot-to-pivot comparison, I think that would be slightly shorter. Just in the pocket clip does add a little bit to that overall length. I guess I need to leave that out. I'm losing my train of thought here. All right, let's go ahead and bring in the Malibu. Again, very, very similar sizing. And then we have the PM2, which of course is going to be a massive size difference. And then lastly, the big boy, the MSI, which absolutely dwarfs that 299. So there you guys can see those size differences, and hopefully those help everybody out. Like I said, the one that I think is probably going to be the most fitting for folks that are fans of Vosteed and of the Psyop series, it's going to be that size comparison right there, where you've got the medium Psyop, the middle Psyop, and the big boy there. A nice, considerable size difference between the two. So if you've always been interested in the Psyop but wanted something a little bit smaller, this is certainly your bag right here. You do have very slightly contoured handles here, and I do mean very, very slightly contoured. Chamfering is really nice. Again, ergonomics are just superb on this knife. One of the things I love about a wire pocket clip is there's 0 hot spots from a wire pocket clip. That's one of the reasons I like them so much. They do have great hold, and they're less likely to snag, in my experience. I do know some people that are just absolutely hate them. They say they snag all the time. I guess it really depends on on what you do and what you're around. But for me, I don't have any problems with them. So Anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It means a lot to the channel. As always, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Please remember to be kind, be humble, and be EDC. Y'all take care.